What's up, Facebook? Happy Monday. Hope everyone's doing okay and hanging in there. We'll wait for some of you guys to pop in on here. So for people that haven't seen yet, we have actually put out our brand new recovery virtual schedule, which is pretty cool. Um, so you guys can check that out on our website. It gives you a full list of all of these virtual videos that we've been doing daily. And then there's a few that we are only doing like 1 or 2 days a week. So those are on there too. So if you guys haven't seen that yet, please check out our Recovery Fitness Facebook page and you can see that under the posts. And feel free to share that too if you know somebody who you think would really enjoy these videos or could use some connection, or if you just feel free to share. There's some really good content on here. And that's only, beginning. This is just the beginning of it too. This is just starting to grow, and the different programs that we're adding on there. There's some really exciting things on there. And this particular outrageous openness with me has moved from Monday through Friday. So I kind of missed you guys this weekend, but it's good to be back. I'm gonna kick off this week with another reading with you guys, and we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, so if you guys haven't seen it yet, check out our new virtual schedule and pass it along to friends and family if you choose to do so. I'm happy that you are here joining in with me. Got some viewers right now. Awesome sauce. Yeah, I just want to check in. Everyone who's tuning in right now, I would love for you guys to comment. Please just get involved with me on here. I'd love to have an open discussion with you guys. And how is everyone doing? I'd love to see some comments in here. How are you guys hanging in there? How are you filling your downtime? So comment throughout the video while we're on here. I really like reading your guys' comments and interacting with you that way. So we'll get into today's reading. So I have been picking readings from the book called Outrageous Openness by Tasha Silver. So I've been just picking readings and kind of reading them with you guys, and then also just kind of commenting on, what I kind of take away from that. But more so, it's really not about what I take away from that, but how I kind of try and look for the deeper meaning of that reading, and hopefully it resonates with, with one of you, maybe two of you out there. So yeah, I always like to give just like a little bit of just background on what the book is about, for people who haven't tuned into this at all yet. So Tasha Silver is the author, and she's a Yale graduate with a degree in English literature. But along the way, she fell madly in love with yogic philosophy, and so she's a writer, and most all of her stories in here are just little blips from stories people have written into her, or struggles that people are going through that they've written in. So these chapters are great. I've actually had a couple people message me in the comments on here and ask the name of the book too. So if anyone does have that curiosity, I can always post it in here too. But I had some woman tell me that she had ordered a couple of these, so that's pretty cool. So you'll hear different things that Tasha talks about in her readings. And one of them, she mentions divine order quite a bit. And she says, divine order says that the perfect solution to any problem is already selected if you allow yourself to be guided. She also talks about divine source as there being a natural universal abundance that knows how to meet every need. And Tasha also talks about a force of love. I know without doubt that a force of love exists that can guide, help, and interact with each of us in the most intimate and practical way, no matter what the conditions. And I just love the way that she views these things. A lot of these concepts she has gotten from other books and other things in her life that she has studied, and so she shares about them, and really believes in this divine order. And I've actually really carried that a lot into my own daily life. And it's not so much about the divine order itself. What I always ask on these videos is that you guys I encourage you to have an open mind with me on here. So if you hear words like divine order, God, the universe, force of love, any of that, I encourage you to be open and take that in whatever way that it means to you. I support, other people's beliefs, and it's all a very personal belief. You and your own higher power. That's between you and that power, and that's it. Nobody else. So I just encourage you guys to have an open mind, and if just take that in whatever way it means to you. What's really important to focus on is the meaning behind that. And I every day I read this part to you guys, but I love that idea that the perfect solution to any problem is already out there. You know, it's already selected if I allow myself to be guided. And that's just it, right? There is that if. I would like to be open and invite that power into my life every day. Um, because that's me letting go and keeping that channel clear. So if I am open-minded, I can allow those solutions to come in today. I can trust that there's something out there that's going to take care of me and any issues that I have. It's called trusting in the process, and whatever that process looks like to you is going to look different from your neighbor, your parent, your friend. It's going to look different than mine. We all have our own different little process, and I really think it's just important to keep that open-mindedness on the forefront of all these discussions that we have. So we'll jump right into today's reading. So she always starts out her readings with a quote or two. That today we have two. So today's reading is called Whisper to a Scream. The first quote is from Albert Schweitzer. The city of truth cannot be built on the swampy ground of skepticism. And this next quote is anonymous. The God that atheists don't believe in never existed anyways. One of my unlikeliest but closest friends is Don, an economics professor at a local university. He's as skeptical and left-brained as they come. He likes to introduce me as his wacky psychic pal with a degree from Yale. Like a seven-toed lizard, a two-headed chihuahua, or some other freak of nature he happened to find in a corner of Golden Gate Park. Once we were at a Berkeley cafe when he started his latest round of teasing about my alleged close encounters with the divine. I grabbed his hand and looked in his eyes. Really, Don, total truth. Has anything ever happened that made you wonder if you had the full picture? Anything ever rock your perfect little rational world? And he told me that in college he shared a dorm with his friend Joey. One night during a snowstorm, Joey left and hadn't returned by the time Don went to sleep. Nothing unusual. Suddenly, at 3 a.m., he awoke with a pounding heart, clearly hearing Joey scream his name, loudly, twice. But no one else was in the room. Half asleep, he yanked on his clothes and stumbled into his VW Bug. His subconscious took over as he slowly drove through a thick blanket of snow. He was drawn like a magnet 10 blocks away, where he found Joey's car wedged into a snowdrift. The guy was freezing, drunk, and confused. No one could ever explain what happened. I was dumbfounded as I listened, stirring honey in my oatmeal. Man, you gotta be kidding. This doesn't change your life at all? No way, Don shook his head vigorously. I had to see it all as coincidence. If I hadn't, I would have begun to question everything. I'd been accepted in grad school. I was following all the rules and winning. No time to rock my world. I mused, I'm not sure that story was a coincidence. You were in the realm of a bona fide clairaudience and telepathy. Those are genuine gifts and abilities. Sounds like your higher self was making contact. Yeah, but I sure couldn't afford to stop for a chat. Next step, the loony bin, he laughed, twirling his pointer finger at his brain. Well, actually, I said, in a sane culture, this would all be seen as a gift. Children would learn to follow their inner guidance from the beginning. Nothing to fear and everything to gain. Whatever, sweetheart, said Don, smiling indulgently as he took a sip of his green tea. Maybe next life. Yeah, I remember the first time I read that, it's just kind of, sometimes we hear people share those stories, and it's like those really obvious stories of synchronicities or, the the bona fide clairaudience. You know, people tell those stories, and we're just kind of like blown away by them. Like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. And I think for some of us, sometimes we believe in those things and sometimes we don't. Sometimes maybe we hear those stories from people and internally we're like, wow, I can't believe that. That's really crazy. And then it starts to make us question everything that maybe we've ever believed in. Um, but that story itself, I mean, the story itself is kind of crazy, right? This guy's in his sleep and all of a sudden he wakes up at 3 a.m. and he's hearing Joey scream his name, but there's nobody in the room. And then for whatever reason, he just goes out driving and somehow he finds Joey in a ditch and probably saved his life. How else do you explain that? And, without getting too much into controversial topic, again, this is where, I ask you guys to have an open mind. And you can take that story however, in whatever way that it means to you. I choose to see it as there was, I don't know, some external force, some external power that was pulling Don out of his sleep to go save his friend Joey in the middle of the night. I don't see that as coincidence. For me, I don't personally believe that there are coincidences in this world. But again, it's not so much about my belief that I want to focus on. You know, um, the thing is, one of those things I really am pulling from this is, I think there was a part of Don that actually believed that it was more than coincidence. But he said he had to see it as coincidence. If he hadn't, he would have started to question everything. And maybe there was a part in him that didn't want to question everything, right? So sometimes we spend our entire lives living one way and believing one way. And then other things come in and start to completely rock our world and make us question everything we've ever known. And that can be pretty earth shattering sometimes, to live your life this whole way and then all of a sudden some new concept or some new idea comes in and it starts to change the way you think. It's uncomfortable, right? We struggle with change, right? So it's hard to wrap our head around some of these things. And it's like, well, if I look at this thing, if I now pay attention to it, oh my goodness, now I might have to change the entire trajectory of my life, the way I think, the way I act, the things that I engage in. Um, and sometimes that seems too much. So sometimes there are those people like Don who just don't want to look at it at all. If I don't look at it, it doesn't exist, right? So it's really more about back to continuing to encourage people to have an open mind. I love what Tasha says back to Don as Don's joking with her and says basically if Don does start to believe that it's more than a coincidence, he feels like he would be seen as crazy and that he'd have to go off to the loony bin. So he's kind of joking around. And I love what Tasha follows up with that is, well, actually, in a sane culture, this would all be seen as a gift. Children would learn to follow their inner guidance from the beginning. Nothing to fear and everything to gain, you know? And of course, Don ends it with, well, maybe in the next life. So obviously, Don does believe some other things too. But I love that idea of, in a sane culture, this would all be seen as a gift. Listening to our inner guidance. And that can be a really hard thing sometimes. Um, while I'm continuing to talk, I would love to see some of you guys write in. Have you ever had I don't know, have you ever had any of those crazy stories happen where there's just no other way to explain it and that that it's beyond a coincidence? Have any of you guys ever had those situations, great or small? Has there ever been a situation that you've just been pulled towards in your life and you don't know how you got there, or maybe you said something or started doing something a certain way that you'd have never done that before and you feel like it wasn't really you. Do you guys have any of those stories? I love hearing about that stuff. So please type in, please comment. I wanna get to some of your guys' comments. I wanna engage with you. But back to that idea of, following our inner guidance from the beginning. Nothing to fear and everything to gain. And I think as children, kids do have that fearlessness. And I can think about it when, a group of us we were at Swain skiing, I don't know, a month or two ago, whenever it was. And I think about it when I'm up on the ski lift and ready to go down the hill. and we're riding the ski lift, and I'm watching all these little kids like flying down the hill on their skis and snowboards, and they're just going for it, man. And they're cruising and they're good. Like it was just so fun watching all these little tiny kids just like just go for it, you know? And here I am as an adult, like taking forever to get down the hill because I keep stopping and I keep questioning my every move and I'm overthinking every step and I'm analyzing every step and I'm trying to look at it in a mechanical way and try to understand, well, if I just move my foot this way, then I wouldn't keep falling back and forth on my snowboard. I was completely like over analyzing and not just trusting my inner guidance, not trusting that basic instinct. Um, and what I learned from that, I had a friend make a comment. They're like, the reason these kids are able to do that is because they have no fear. You know, fear is not something we're born with. Uh, it's a learned emotion, and from that learned emotion, stems learned behaviors, right? So as a little kid, little what do little kids do? They run outside and they get bruised up and they get banged up and they fall and then they're back at it again. It's because they don't have fear. They haven't learned that yet. And there is actually something that is just so precious about that. That is a gift, to not have any fear, to not hold back. Through their eyes, at that age, there's nothing to fear and everything to gain, you know? And I think about that in the sense of my life, like letting fear hold me back, even just from something so simple as snowboarding, as I just mentioned, like it was something new and it was something that I'm enjoying learning, but at the same time, there are certain little movements that I'm making that are holding me back from getting better because I'm not letting go and listening to that inner guidance. I'm over analyzing. I'm letting fear creep in. I'm afraid to fall. I'm afraid to get hurt. I'm afraid to try something different, whatever it is, right? We let those little fears hold us back and we don't trust our inner guidance. And that's one of the things I'm taking away from this reading today. Can you guys trust your inner guidance? Um, a lot of people will share things like I've heard a lot of people just share stories in general about they were in a situation, whatever the situation is. They were in some sort of situation, and what for whatever reason internally they felt something, right? There's that inner voice, and they would describe it like, I don't know, something just didn't feel right, something felt off, something was telling me that I'm not supposed to be at this place at this time, you know and for and then people will continue to tell the story of how they stayed in that situation anyways. They ignored that inner guidance, they ignored that little inner voice, and the situation ended up getting worse. And then they would come out afterwards and look back in hindsight and just say, like, I wish I listened to myself. Why didn't I trust my gut instinct? You know? And I don't pretend to know that I have all the answers. I most certainly do not have all the answers. But there are certain things that I have gained in my own experience in my own life, right? I think there are plenty of times for a lot of us where that gut instinct is creeping in and it gets loud. Like that gut instinct is speaking to me. So why do I ignore it sometimes? And that's just more of like a rhetorical question, but does anyone else struggle with that too? Is there any situations that you guys have been into, that you guys have had in your life where you had this gut instinct? There was this internal voice telling you something, and either you listened to it and maybe it benefited you, or you didn't listen to it and the situation went completely left. Do you guys have any of those stories? Mo's writing in, LOL, remembering the time on the trampoline at the Warrior Factory. Yeah. Yeah, Mo and I went and played at the Warrior Factory a few weeks ago, and for those of you that don't know, it's this basically big indoor adult fun park of, if you've ever seen the show American Ninja Warrior, it's basically like a giant playground for well, kids go too, for anybody. And anyways, there's this large trampoline you jump up and down, and you're jumping into a pit, and there's a bar way up above, so the idea is to jump on the trampoline, hit the bar that's way in front of you hanging over the pit, swing from the bar and swing to the next things. And while at first it's like, oh, this seems great. This is gonna be so much fun. Like I can't wait to try that out. I think Mo and I probably spent half an hour just jumping on that trampoline and like getting closer and closer and closer to the edge of the foam pit and not jumping, working our way up to it, right? And so that's that idea of fear, because as adults, we're calculating, we're constantly calculating our moves, and all right, how is this going to affect me? And I'm going to get hurt if I don't jump high enough. Uh, and it's like you get closer and closer to the edge of the pit, and you're like frozen with fear. Like, oh my goodness, it was almost comical the amount of time that we spent jumping on the trampoline before jumping up to the high bar to reach it and swing from it, because there is this genuine fear of, I'm whatever it is, I'm going to get hurt, or I'm scared to jump that high, or whatever it is. We let that hold us back sometimes. I wasn't trusting my body, I wasn't trusting my internal instincts of like, I can do this. But you go watch these little kids run around this warrior factor, and they're zooming around there doing backflips and all sorts of crazy stuff with no fear, nothing to fear and everything to gain. Excuse me. Nikki's writing in, "Hi, I can relate to this. I overthink everything and work every day to trust the decisions I make for myself. Parenting, work, social life are the right ones. When I was using, I made so many bad choices that I struggle with trusting my decisions now that I'm not using." Absolutely. And to add on that, Mo writes in again, "Not a story about an inner feeling, but definitely about being fearful as an adult." Yeah. What other ways does that show up for you guys, in your adult life? In your adult life today, what other ways does fear paralyze you? Are there situations or anything that you've been in where you let fear stop you from doing something you want to do, or stop you from doing something you need to do, stop you from growing? Um, yeah, that's really hard, you know? And Nikki, that's a great point. Thinking back to the using days, there were so many bad decisions. And with bad decisions come consequences. There's a consequence for every single action that we take in this life. Sometimes they're positive consequences, and sometimes there's negative ones. So looking back in our past lives, when we have made all of these choices in our past lives and gotten negative results, negative consequences, sometimes it's now hard to trust our decisions today. For some of us that are in recovery, I get that. That makes sense. Looking back, like all the poor choices that I have made that led to negative consequences, it's like now that good things are coming into my life, I'm very hesitant going into those. I'm hesitant, um, wondering if I'm going to repeat the same behaviors over and over. There's fear in that. I get scared of that. You know, there's days where I don't fully trust myself because of my past behaviors, and there's a history with that. You know, um, but can we work through that today? You know, can we learn to trust ourselves in a world of today? Right? So it's like every day is a new opportunity for every single human. Every day is a clean slate. Yesterday is gone. We will never get that back. Time only moves forward. Even as I'm talking, what I said 2 minutes ago is gone. That moment in time is gone. And tomorrow's not here yet. Tomorrow really never gets here. So all we have is right now, and today is a clean slate. You know. So can we start off each day with that clean slate and try to trust ourselves a little bit more? You know. Um, so that's gonna be my challenge for you guys today. My challenge. Oh, Kira's writing in right now too. Kira says, "I didn't follow my gut instincts about my last relationship, and it ended up getting severely abusive and slowly killing me. I had to get law enforcement involved in order to get out." Yeah, that's a really tough situation, Kira. I'm sorry you had to go through that. That had been really hard. And sometimes life, we get ourselves into these situations, right? And sometimes we don't know how we get ourselves into this situation until hindsight. Um, Kira says, "My 2-year-old daughter was just very intently listening to you." Hi. But that's just it, right? So sometimes we get into these heavy situations in life, and it's like, how on earth did I get here again? You know, um, and we don't trust our gut instincts. That's what happens a lot of the time. Like I believe that as humans, there's this little tiny thing built inside of us. I'm sure there's, technical terms inside of our brain that I don't know how to use, but in my mind, it's a little ticker that says, when I'm in a situation, how does it feel? Is there something inside me telling me that the situation I'm in right now feels uncomfortable, feels wrong, feels like I shouldn't be doing this thing? Or we can go the other way and I'm in a situation and I feel joy, I feel pure bliss, I feel happiness, I feel present in that entire moment. I'm enjoying everything about that moment. Our body signals to us, our body signals to us what's right and what's wrong for us. Um, and sometimes that can get a little cloudy. I don't know that trusting my every gut instinct would have gotten me to a better place. I don't know that. You know, Kira says if I would have listened to my gut, it wouldn't have gotten so bad. And that's just it, right? We don't give ourselves the chance to listen to our gut. I think there are times where we genuinely aren't in tune with it at all, and we're not even aware of it. Or there are times we are aware of that gut instinct and we're ignoring it. Why do we do that? I don't know. Kira says, it always told me that it was wrong, but I was scared to leave. Fear overcame me. And that's just it right there, right, guys? Fear overcame me. That fight or flight feeling, you know, or freeze. I get stuck in that moment sometimes out of making a decision. Fear creeps in, and I'm not trusting my gut instinct, and I'm just letting it paralyze me, and I can't move, you know? And that's a really hard thing sometimes. I think there are times where I'm not trusting my gut instinct. And sometimes I'm not aware of it until I'm talking about it, like I am right now. um, you guys keep me accountable. You guys show me that I can show up here every day and have a book discussion with you, but it's not even so much about the book, it's about the meaning behind it. And then we're able to have more meaningful discussion. You guys are vulnerable. You guys are being real and raw, and I appreciate everyone's comments. I have really enjoyed doing these videos and seeing you guys open up and be vulnerable. It shows me that I can be vulnerable. Nikki said you nailed it right there. Fight or flight. Such a weird thing. Which one we allow to take over? And Kira says I'm the freeze type too. I was frozen in that relationship. Yeah. Fight or flight. There's again, please correct me if any of you know the technical terms because I did not go to medical school, but there is that part of our brains somewhere in there that is wired within us to fight or flight, you know? But I think what is really important is to be more in tune with ourselves. Um, I think a lot of us walk through life without having any self-awareness or very little. I did for a very long time. I most certainly didn't have a lot of awareness, and I walked through my life blindly, constantly reacting on emotions, and had a lot of those negative consequences because of that. And it's only in the past couple years that I've started to gain a little bit more self-awareness. And like we've been talking about every day, it's just another one of those things that takes a daily practice, right? Um, so what that daily practice looks like is something. I guess I would say it in the sense of, being mindfulness. I can gain self awareness, but I have to put in the work to do it. Like I say to you guys all the time, any of these things can be learned, right? And with practice, we only get better, right? So with the self awareness, we can practice that every day. There's a we can practice being mindful every day. Can you sit with yourself in silence for 5 or 10 minutes every morning or at the end of every night and just check in with yourself? You don't have to meditate or any of that. I mean, it kind of is a form of meditation because you're sitting still and you're paying attention to your surroundings and being in the moment. So yeah, I guess that is a form of meditation. But can you sit with yourself and check in? Um, can you ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Can you label those feelings? Can you also separate them? Because oftentimes feelings are not facts. They are feelings and they are emotions, and they are constantly changing and constantly fleeting, But can you check in with yourself? Can you do it throughout the day? Can you check in with yourself when you're getting that gut feeling? I know that you guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes we get into these situations and I don't know how to describe it other than there's this internal feeling, there's this little voice in my head that is telling me something. And you can choose to believe that that's your inner conscience or your higher power or divine order, whatever you choose to believe that is. The fact is that you believe it's something external that's speaking to you, that's trying to help you make a decision and make a choice in whatever situation you're in, you know? So if you are feeling uncomfortable throughout your day, if negative feelings are coming your way, if you're anxious, if you're fearful, if you're worried, if you're, I don't even know, in any kind of situation where you're feeling extremely uncomfortable, pause and check in with yourself. Ask yourself, all right, what is it that I'm feeling right now? What is it that I'm feeling? What is it that's causing me to have these feelings? You know, and asking yourself, okay, what do I need to do right now? Can you listen to that little voice? Is that little voice telling you to fight or, is it prompting the fight or flight in you? Hi, Richard. See you waving. But can you pay attention to that? Can you do that on a daily basis? Can you check in with yourself and your feelings throughout the day? And again, the more you do that, um, the more you start to connect with yourself and the more self awareness that you gain, you know? So, my challenge to you guys, I know I continue to reword this as the conversation goes on. I'm encouraging you to check in with yourself throughout the day. And I'm encouraging you to be aware of when your internal voice, when that gut feeling is telling you to do something, I'm challenging you to listen to that. There's a reason it's prompting you to do or say something. I don't know. But there's a reason for that. It's trying to get your attention. So pay attention to it, you know? Um, Kira says, I have a feelings wheel. If anyone needs it, message her. That's actually hanging up on the wall right here. We got a colored feelings wheel, so that's funny that you mentioned that. But yeah, that's a great tool. You guys can Google that too. It's literally the wheel of feelings. It's color coded, which is fun, and there's all different kinds of emotions on there. So check in with yourself. When you're doing that, check in with yourself. Can you look at the feelings wheel? Can you dig a little bit deeper than, oh, I'm good or I'm bad or I'm happy or I'm sad? Can you dig a little deeper? There are a lot more emotions than those few. So Google it if you have to. But I just really encourage you guys to check in with yourself. And with checking in with yourself comes, realizing what you need in that moment. And as I continue to tell you guys on every single video, if what you need in that moment is to connect, to reach out, to not be alone, to be linked to the recovery community or recovery resources, or just to talk, just a friend to talk. If you guys are struggling, I encourage you to please reach out. We are here, Rock Recovery Fitness as a whole. We stand behind supporting you guys. We want to show up every single day. Just I encourage you guys to hang on to hope. Sometimes there's a whole lot of it, and sometimes there's only a little bit of it. But all you need is a little bit. And, I just want to continue encouraging you guys every day because you encourage me. You encourage me to keep getting back on here and talking and, talking about, some of the things that I don't recognize in myself. And I don't realize it until I'm talking about them out loud and reading some of your comments. So if all I can continue to do is read to you guys and do a book discussion every day and connect with you in that way, then I'm going to keep doing that. So please, please, please reach out to us at Rock Recovery Fitness if you guys need anything, if you need support. We still have quite a few of our peer mentors who are able to give you support if that's something you or a friend or a family member needs. We can be that support for you guys. We will be back here at 2 o'clock tomorrow, and I also continue to encourage you guys to check out our brand new Rock Recovery virtual schedule. We have a workout coming up here at 3 o'clock to get up and get you guys moving. We also have Yana, who is going to be speaking tonight, just sharing some encouraging thoughts. So please continue to tune in. And if you know anybody else who would benefit from watching these videos, please share them. Please share them. You know, we're here to share with you guys and connect. If you don't have Facebook, or you obviously do, you're watching. If someone you know you think would benefit from these videos doesn't have Facebook, they can also go on our Rock Recovery Fitness website. It's rockcoveryfitness.org. So you can, all these videos that we're doing live are actually saving and being moved to our website as well. So you can go back and view them anytime. So if there's a particular one you like, go back and find it and share it with a friend. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. So nice to see you guys commenting on here. It's great. Kara, glad you're here. Glad we could help out today. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a happy Monday, party people. Bye.